I know what you are. Your skin is pale white and ice cold. You don't go out into the sunlight.
Say it out loud. Say it.
Mermaid.
Are you afraid?
No.
A creature so evil that it strikes fear into the heart of the valiant. A creature that has stalked our nightmares for thousands of years. The vampire. Hollywood has made the vampire into a legend. Teenage girls have made the vampire into an icon. But how has this legend changed over the centuries? How has our vampire myth evolved? We all have seen old Hollywood films about Dracula, and we all know how modern movies portray the vampires. But where did the legend start? The ancient Greeks had a monster by the name of Lamia, a monster half woman, half sea monster, who would suck children's blood at night. The Egyptian goddess Sekhmet also drank blood, as did the cult of followers. In Mesopotamian mythology, Lilith, a demon, sucks the blood and life of her victims. While none of these perfectly fit the description of our vampire, they're certainly the basis for our myth. It wasn't until 18th century literature that the modern vampire myth was developed. Authors of the genre used historical figures such as Vlad the Impaler and Elizabeth Bathory to further support their characters. Countess Elizabeth Bathory, also known as Countess Dracula, was well known for killing and torturing young women and then bathing in their blood to retain her youthfulness. It is reported that she had over 600 victims, both of peasant and aristocratic classes. Count Vlad Dracula, also known as Count Dracula, was well known for his cruel and unorthodox torture methods. His favorite torture method of impalement turns out to be a key component in Stoker's Dracula. It was said that Vlad Dracula also consumed both human blood and flesh, and that he had a serious allergy to blood that caused him to go pale and puffy in the face. This may be where Stoker got his inspiration. One of the first stories of the 18th century about vampires is Le Fanu's Carmilla. It is here that we first see the vampire's seductive powers. While Le Fanu does not attribute Carmilla's seductive power to the supernatural, it is the beginning of the vampire's control over their victims. Le Fanu also introduced the neck and the chest as the main areas to bite when the vampire needs to draw blood for sustenance. Carmilla is also the first place that we hear of the vampire's shape-shifting power. In a quote from Le Fanu, "But I soon saw that it was a sooty black animal that resembled a monstrous cat." For thousands of years, humans have had a morbid preoccupation with death, and as part of her supernatural powers, Carmilla was given immortality. Humans also have a preoccupation with beauty, and Carmilla is given extraordinary beauty, perhaps to better entice her victims. Despite her supernatural powers, Carmilla also has some human characteristics. She is able to walk in the sunlight, and feel compassion and caring towards other people. As the most known vampire of all time, Dracula has striking similarities to Carmilla, yet vast differences. Just like Carmilla, Dracula's main residence is in an old castle. Though unlike Carmilla, whose setting is in Germany, Dracula's residence is in Transylvania, modern-day Romania. Like Carmilla, Dracula could also shapeshift, but whereas Carmilla changed into a cat, Dracula changed into a bat-like creature. And if he was not in a coffin of earth from Transylvania, he could only change at sunrise, sunset, or high noon. Dracula has the ability to control what the Europeans of the time considered the dark animals, such as the wolf, the moth, and the bat. According to Stoker, Dracula's power ceases as does that of all evil things at the coming of the day. Therefore, Dracula cannot come out into the daylight like Carmilla can. Unlike Carmilla, Dracula has no human feelings, feels no compassion or caring towards others, and is a total evil entity. Vampires and Dracula may not enter a house unless invited first. According to Stoker, the only real way to kill a vampire is to stake him in the heart and then cut off his head. Other than the sun, Dracula has one other weakness. He cannot come into contact with any object that is holy, because he is so unholy himself. Overall, in the change from Carmilla to Dracula, the vampire becomes more powerful, and more of a monster, and less of a person. Yet, even this image was changed once Hollywood got a hold of it. Many versions of Dracula have Dracula and Mina falling in love. Yet Dracula is still seen as evil. It wasn't until the advent of the hugely popular book series Twilight that vampires were put into a better light and seen as heroes rather than monsters. Our vampire myth, changed over the centuries, shows a monster, more dead than alive, immortal, terrifying, with a host of supernatural powers that make it almost unbeatable. The vampire is an accumulation of our nightmares.